and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker, and I hope that you are warm, comfortable, and enjoying this holiday season. We have a tea that I think I'm going to enjoy. This is a LiShan oolong from Taiwan, so let's go ahead and get this started. I generally enjoy LiShans, so this one I'm putting a lot of expectation on this one already, so let's go ahead and get it started. Now, some of the equipment I'm using is the kettle, which is going to give us a temperature. I mean, it's simple. It's a very basic type of kettle. I don't go out for anything that fancy. Usually, it's just something that's good to and handy to have around the desk. Got my teaspoon out, and I'm going to take out about a spoon here. We'll start off with that. Now, when I put this in my this gallon, this bowl area, is about 4 ounces as far as the volume that it holds, and I want to cover the bottom, say the bottom inch and a half diameter there. That should be enough because these are balled or rolled up, and they are going to expand pretty well. So I'll set that aside. My water has been brought to a low boil. It started to rumble. It hasn't gotten to a full roll, but it should be enough that it's going, and it's been cooling now for about a minute and a half or so. And I'm going to add just enough water to rest above the rim when I put the lid on. Rim of the lid, I mean. That looks good. And that kind of keeps any air from getting in and changing the color of the liquor that's inside. So while that is steeping, I'm going to talk a little bit about this tea. This is from Naivetea. This is their LiShan oolong. It is a Taiwanese oolong. Information about this tea: you can get 2 ounces for $34 currently. This is from this is actually from the LiShan mountain area. So, and that is an elevation of nearly 7,000 feet. That's 6,889 is the precise number provided by Naivetea. And the varietal, this is a Qing varietal, which roughly translates as green heart. And so that's one of the common varietals used in Taiwan. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this leaf. There are some areas we want to talk about: the dry leaf, the wet leaf, and the liquor, so that we can cultivate our own awareness of a tea and what's happening with the tea. And by doing so, it kind of enlivens our senses and makes us aware of other things as well. There's a couple of components here. There is something there's sweet, something honey-like, and but yet it's kind of warm, kind of baked. So it comes off as kind of like a graham cracker type, a dark, very heavy, honeyed type of graham cracker. And along with that, there is something kind of woodsy, twig-like and sweet, and so there's that kind of English laurel component there. Especially in the spring, as the shrubs start to blossom, you may want to hang around some English laurel type shrubs there. Just get the smell of the little white blossoms that are blooming there. Now, looking at this leaf, a couple of things we want to talk about. One is its color. It's got a nice, it's got everywhere from a rich dark green over to a green yellow, and so we're talking about beyond. It's brighter. It's a deeper, more of a green blue than, say, an olive drab would be too dull to describe that darkest element, and yet it does have that lighter green yellow color as well. I would not say that these are dull by any means. They do have a light, very light gloss or a sheen about them, so they got some good color in that respect. And they are all balled. They are rolled together, so this is likely going to be more than one leaf. That's the more traditional way to roll this type of leaf, this type of tea. So that really covers what we can tell from our dry leaf. We're not going to get too much further into that. We are, however, going to get ready to pour this tea and look at the wet leaf and the liquor. So to do so, I'm going to get out my pitcher here, which is again ideal for if you're serving, especially if you're serving more than one cup of this, more than one person. Also, it's great to be able to look at the liquor itself. So let's go ahead and pour. Nice bright color there. We'll be talking about that more in just a minute. So let's set that aside and talk for a moment about this wet leaf. First thing that hit was some of that. There was a little bit of that graham cracker honey type smell, and yet there's a bit more of it's gotten more floral. There's a little bit more hyacinth type sweet sweet spring flower type smells coming off. The English laurel has faded more towards the back, but it still gives a little bit of that kind of twiggy, woodsy type smell, combined with again a lighter, the lighter fragrance of a hyacinth type flower. So it's sweet, it's floral, but yet it's still got a nice kind of a woodsy, toasty, twiggy type smell that I talked about there. So let's talk a little about these. Let's look at these leaves for a moment here. Pulling out just what's there. Here we got sets. We've got one leaf here. It's torn a little bit, but mostly intact. Still just very on the, if you've ever looked at a tea leaf, it's got these jagged teeth along the edge. And it's just the very tips of those little teeth there have got a little bit of brown on them. So there's one leaf, two leaves, three leaves. What was tip or something there as well. So I'll set that there just to kind of display that before we move on and get another leaf or so. Tenderness, yes, these are fairly tender. They're not a very thick, coarse, heavy type of leaf. So that's a positive. Want to look at a couple of more. Here's another set. Here's actually another two leaves. Plus, let's see another. See if I can pull these apart without destroying them. So three leaves, four leaves, and you can actually still see the little tip there. Also noticing the end of the stem here. It's got more of an uneven break. Indicating that this was broken off rather than torn or cut, I should say. All right, so let's. That gives us a little bit of information about our leaves here. They are a lot of these have unfurled. A lot of these have a little bit of tears, a little bit of missing areas around the edges of the leaves. Very light. Oxidation, a little bit of reddishness, a little rust color there showing as well. But that kind of covers what we have here. Let's go ahead and give it a pour and give it a taste, because that's where we want to focus. That's where I want to kind of focus our attention. First off, you do get a nice bright golden color. You get a lot of I'm getting quite a bit of particulates floating around in there, okay? But it's got a good brightness to it, even so. Good clarity as well. Good clear aromas. There is something kind of sweet graham cracker coming off of this. A little bit of that English laurel twig that I talked about as well. So let's give this a shot. Generally, LiShans and oolongs like this, lighter oxidation types, they perform well as they cool. They get more nuanced, they get a little smoother, they get a little sweeter, they get a little more aromatic as they cool. One more shot here. Okay, the texture is nice. It's got a brothy feel to it. It's not as overly astringent. It just feels like again like a heavy, warm chicken soup. It's that kind of broth that's coming out right now. So that's a positive. But with that, there is something that feels just a little savory or salty or heavy kind of feel to that. But in a complementary way, it still has that kind of English laurel, twiggy type warm notes there, heat notes as well. And then also a very light. It's not overly fragrant. It's not overly perfumey, but there is something that is sweet, like a light clover, or again that hyacinth that's coming out. So that texture really folds well with the aromas and the taste. Okay, and then as it in the aftertaste, I should say, it's starting to pool. It's starting to get this. It feels kind of gummy, kind of sticky, like watered down honey is in the back of my mouth, and it's starting to well up. The sweetness starts to build under the lower jaw. For some reason, it's starting to carry underneath the tongue and come up on the front tip of my tongue, which is it's very unique. Don't always experience this. So those are positive notes coming off right there. The aftertaste still has a kind of, I've finished some broth. There's still some light remnant of that coating my mouth. It's sweet. It's graham crackery type of baked slash honey slash, again, with a little bit of that twig, laurel type note coming out there. So just an excellent blend right there. So when I look at this tea as a whole, well, for one, I didn't really even let this cool down enough. It might even bring out a little bit more as it cools more. But looking at this tea as a whole, giving the texture and just the way everything just rolls together and blends very seamlessly as far as texture, as far as aftertaste, aromas, feel, all of that. This is a very enjoyable tea. So I would have to give this tea a 92. It's got again, it tells a great story, nice feel, just very enjoyable. So if there's a tea out there that you're considering, if you are reluctant about putting in a little bit extra money for fine teas, this is one of those that I would say is worth putting into. Not every tea that claims to have a high price point is really worth that high price point. Some of them are, like this one. So come back and join us at Walker Tea Review, where we look at teas from all over the range to help you choose the best one for you.